Hat, sunglasses, Pepsi, notes, sources, thick skin, check. You already know. Let's go. Welcome to Golden Blue today, everybody. This is a college football channel. So if you like college football, hit the like and subscribe button. It's that simple. Also, send gear to represent your team and be a part of my background forever. All you have to do is send it to P.O. Box 360, Liberty, South Carolina 29657. And don't forget to check out our Patreon page. We have a lot of great perks over there. The perk that people seem to enjoy the most, of course, is the score prediction contest where we award $20 every single week to whoever gets closest to the actual score of the game that I pick. We also did a championship week. I will award $25 to that winner. And right now is the best time to join Patreon because we are going to do the bowl prediction contest. First place prize will win $50. Second place prize is an autographed golden blued flat bill hat. And the third place prize is a shout out. And the more Patreons we get, the higher we can bump up the prize. So if we get up to $300 worth of Patreon pledges, we will bump up the prize to $75. If we get up to $400 worth of Patreon pledges, we'll bump the prize up to $100, and so on and so forth. So there's even an incentive for current Patreon members to encourage other people to join Patreon. That way the prize goes even higher. I'll leave the link to the Patreon page in the description of this video. Guys, I heard something over on 365 Sports on YouTube, which, by the way, if you're not subscribed to them over there, you need to subscribe. They have some great content over there. But they said something earlier today that absolutely blew my mind. I stand corrected because here's the thing. All the teams in the Big 12 right now, they are free agents. What do I mean by that? Well, I mean that there's not a new grant of rights right now. I was wrong about that. I thought there was a new grant of rights. I thought everybody has signed them, and I thought everybody was locked in until 2031. That is not the case. There is a new TV deal. That is down. Everybody has signed on it. But the grant of rights, that hasn't been redone yet. And the old grant of rights run out in 2025. So, let me rephrase that. They're not free agents as of right now, but they're going to be in a couple of years. And West Virginia hasn't signed anything new. So every team in the Big 12 will be free agents. That's the correct wording. Will be free agents, not as of right now. They're still in the current grant of rights, which goes to 2025. This is absolutely crazy. This changed a lot of things. I thought all the teams had signed a new grant of rights and it went out until 2031. That's not the case. There is no new grant of rights. And I'm hearing that conference realignment is not done at all. Even the Big Ten Commissioner Kevin Warren came out and said when he was asked about conference realignment, are you done? We are done for now. He didn't say for good or yes, he said for now. So yes, I do think the Big Ten is interested in some teams in the Big 12. And the two names that I'm hearing all of a sudden, Kansas, which I've been talking about them for about a year now, so that's not a new name, but it's gotten hot again. They died down. But the new name is TCU, and it would make a lot of sense. The Big Ten has let it be known that they want a footprint in the state of Texas, and I think TCU would be a perfect fit. They have the best academics out of all the teams remaining. You're not getting Texas. Texas is going to the SEC. So the argument would be TCU, Texas Tech, Baylor, and Houston, and I think TCU would be the team that would get picked. I don't think the religion factor is that big of a deal because it's not that serious. It's basically just a label. They have great academics, and TCU is in the playoffs this year. Just think of that. If TCU were in the Big Ten this year, they'd have 3 teams in the playoffs. So yes, I think TCU would be a great candidate for the Big Ten. And of course, Kansas, we already know Kansas would be a perfect fit in the Big Ten. They already have the basketball pedigree. They are a true blue blood. They are the #1 revenue producing basketball program in the Big 12. And now they are investing into their football program. They just extended Lance Leopold, who just took Kansas to a bowl game first time over a decade. And he said, hey, I'm not signing that unless you show me that you are committed to improving the football program. And that's exactly what Kansas is doing. They are investing over $350 million into their football facilities. And I'll tell you what, Kansas has the eyes of the Big Ten. And I would not be surprised if the Big Ten offered Kansas in just a few short months after the regular season. See, here's the thing. After the regular season dies down in the playoffs and the bowls and all that stuff, that's when we're going to start seeing some major moves in conference realignment. I thought that the Big 12 could just be in straight aggressive mode because everybody signed the grant of rights, everybody's locked in, but that's not the case. the Big 12 still needs to be on the defense. And no, I am not going down the rabbit hole of West Virginia going to the ACC. I've already talked about that a billion times. My sources were correct, though. The ACC was interested in West Virginia in 2021, and the ACC said they could revisit that, so who knows what's going to happen out of that. I've already talked about that at length. I would be okay with West Virginia staying in the Big 12 as long as the Big 12 goes after rivals. Rivals like Pitt, rivals like Virginia Tech, rivals like Syracuse, rivals like Louisville, rivals like Miami, rivals like Boston College. All their rivals, if they go after all their rivals, then I'm okay with being in the Big 12. But if the Big 12 doesn't go out and get rivals, then of course, I'm still going to be preaching the message of West Virginia belongs in the ACC. That's it. That's the only reason. I am not saying that the ACC is a better conference than the Big 12. In fact, I actually think the Big 12 is a better conference. But we want to play our rivals every year. That's what it boils down to. It sucks being a fan base having to travel a time zone every time we wanted to go to a away game. I got to go to the Backyard Brawl this year because we actually played the Backyard Brawl. Even though it was an away game, it was a close away game. I want to be able to go to more away games, and that's why I preach that message. But I'm not going down that rabbit hole, even though I just did. I'm focusing on these other teams. And all the people have been talking about Colorado catching the eyes of the Big 12, and one of the reasons why Colorado hired Deion Sanders was because they wanted to go to the Big 12, and the biggest knock on Colorado was their football program. I'm telling you, the Big 12 still wants those four-corner teams, and Colorado was the only hiccup as far as to why they wouldn't do it. Because they still want Utah, they still want Arizona, they still want Arizona State, and now they definitely want Colorado. That was a big-time move. Listen, over 200 players and recruits in the transfer portal have contacted Colorado and Deion Sanders ever since he took the head coaching job over there at Colorado. Their stock has gone through the roof. I'm telling you, I'm hearing it getting hotter and hotter and hotter that Colorado is going to the Big 12. I think that's close to being a lock. And if Colorado's going to the Big 12, that means the rest of those teams are going to the Big 12 as well. So look for the four corners to head to the Big 12 because all that is coming together. That was the main reason why they hired Deion Sanders. And that was one of the main reasons why Deion Sanders took the job at Colorado. From what I'm hearing is because Colorado said, hey, you will go to the Big 12. All we need is to better our football program. And you would definitely get us better immediately. Not just 5-6 years, but immediately. That was the reason behind that hire. Nobody thought that Colorado was going to land Deion Sanders, but there was other stuff that went into it. Now it actually does make sense. He could be the savior of Colorado football and get Colorado back into the Big 12. Remember, Colorado's been in the Big 12 already. Now it's time to get Colorado back into the Big 12. Now, they will be missing teams like Texas A&M, like Missouri, like Nebraska, like Texas, like Oklahoma, so it's not going to be the Big 12 that they remember, but there's still some good teams in there like Kansas, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, some of the teams that they remember from the old Big 12, including Iowa State. Some new members as well, so this looks like a good new Big 12. Having said that, I go back to the point that I was trying to make earlier. Free agents. These teams will be free agents if they don't sign a new grant of rights because it has not been signed. This opens up everything. I thought everybody had signed that grant of rights and that it was locked in until 2031. That's not the case. None of the Big 12 teams have signed those grant of rights, so the Big 12 is still in play. And for what I heard from Brett Yormark is that he actually wants to get some teams from that fourth time zone. So he's already got teams in the Eastern, the Central, and the Mountain time zone. This means that he wants teams from the West Coast time zone. Teams like maybe an Oregon, maybe a Washington, maybe a Washington State, maybe an Oregon State, maybe a Cal, maybe a Stanford, maybe a Boise State, maybe a Fresno State. Well, Boise State doesn't count. They're in the Mountain time zone. But still, that's a lot of options for the West Coast time zone. And he said he wants teams from that fourth time zone. And you got to realize with West Virginia, they have conflicting interests because that is what's best for the Big 12. But that is not what's best for West Virginia. We already have brutal away games. Now our travels would be even worse. So you can see how there's conflicting interests between the Big 12 and West Virginia. However, like I said earlier, if they go after our rivals and strengthen the east side of the Big 12, I am perfectly content staying in the Big 12. So could it be the reason why the Big 10 turned down Oregon and Washington is because they actually want Kansas and TCU? Is Kansas and TCU at the top of the list for the Big 10? So y'all let me know in the comments section, what do you think about Kansas and TCU going to the Big 10? Makes a lot of sense. Kansas is one of the best basketball brands in the entire nation. They are investing money into the football program. And of course, TCU having massive success. Remember their humble beginnings in the Mountain West, and they've done great things in the Big 12, including making the playoffs this year. So their stock is increasing dramatically. And what do you think about the Big 12 actually getting Colorado, Utah, Arizona State? I know we've been hearing this for a very long time, but Colorado was the only hiccup, and now they went out and hired Deion Sanders, so they might actually be the strongest brand going into that deal. And does this mean that the end of the Pac-12 is happening sooner than we thought? That's all I got for this show. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on my next show.